Hello and welcome back to the Airlie podcast. Today we are joined by Josh Griffin, one-time Challenge Cup winner. How did you get started in rugby league, Josh?
Rugby league, so obviously I'm from Oxfordshire, so rugby league wasn't something I grew up playing or really knew about, to be fair. It wasn't obviously me. I've got my older brother, Daryl, is obviously 10 years older than me. He's the one that kind of led the way and he kind of stumbled across it, and it was only a bit of off chance that he even played it. He was playing rugby union and he got what did he get? He got some sort of illness that put him out of the rugby union season. So he went to play rugby league for Oxford Cavaliers, which was an up and coming rugby league team through the summer, just to get back fit to play rugby league, to play rugby union again in that winter. While he was down there through the summer, he got picked up by London Broncos and kind of went through that way. And he moved up to Wakefield in 2002, 2003, and the family kind of followed him up in 2004.
So obviously you spoke about your brother there getting into rugby league with Oxford. How did you get into rugby league yourself?
Again, like I said, when we followed him up, that was the reason we came up to Yorkshire, kind of through Daryl, playing for Wakefield Wildcats, and I picked it up in school. I was 13, 14 years old and started playing for my school team. Was still playing rugby union at the time. I didn't officially play rugby league for an amateur team till I was under 15s, under 16s. Played Stanley Rangers, did a year there, and I was lucky enough to pick up a scholarship with Wakefield Wildcats and kind of progressed through that. Went up through the scholarship, academy, reserves, and ended up obviously the first team.
Obviously you was at Wakefield. I don't know, how long was you at Wakefield for?
So I started Wakefield when I was 13, kind of progressed through their ranks and their academy and stuff, and I made my first team debut as a 17-year-old.
Yep.
I left that year, so I went to Huddersfield Giants at 17, and kind of so a good 4 years, and obviously come back to Wakefield a couple of times now.
Obviously Huddersfield, you was there how long for again?
I did 2.5 seasons at Huddersfield.
Yep.
One of them was mainly in the reserves. Like I said, I was only a 17, 18-year-old at the time. Made my debut before the Challenge Cup final as an 18-year-old for Huddersfield, and then I did a year on loan on dual registration where I trained with Huddersfield and played for Batley Bulldogs, which was obviously really good for my development and kind of got me playing against men and on a regular basis. And then again did a pre-season with Huddersfield and then moved over to Wakefield on loan. They went over a season where they went in administration and they lost a few players and recruited a few of the younger players across Super League.
Obviously, Huddersfield. Then when you went to Cass, was it?
Yeah, so I did.
Cass,
I did a year at Wakefield on loan, and then I actually signed for the Celtic Crusaders, if you remember them. Signed for them for 2 years, but during the season I was playing for Wakefield on loan. They went bust, and they were no more. Then I ended up joining Cass for a year. Didn't really enjoy it there, if I'm being honest. It was a bit of a turbulent year. And in Millward, the team wasn't great, and I got the chance to go back to my rugby union roots and play for Leeds Carnegie.
Yeah, obviously, would you say rugby union went well for you in that aspect?
It did, yeah. I really enjoyed my time in rugby union. Like I say, I'm a bit of a rugby union boy at heart. Something that I always wanted to do, and it went really well. But unfortunately, some issues out of my control led me to come back to rugby league, and I had a chance to come back to rugby league and play for the Batley Bulldogs.
Obviously, after rugby union, you went to Batley, you said, but where did you go after that, like Super League wise? So
I went to Batley. I played 10 games to them, and I managed to get a trial with Salford Red Devils. When, the Dr. Kukash era and the Devolution, what he was called, and I managed to get a trial there for a month while I was still playing for Batley. So I trained with Salford through the week and played for Batley on the weekend, and I managed to impress Iestyn Harris enough for him to offer me a contract for the rest of that year. I did well, to be fair. When I come back from that, I played the last 8 games of the season, scored 8 tries on the wing, and it set me up obviously for a good couple of years at Salford before obviously coming over to Hull.
Obviously, you played with Randy Chase, and there was that real famous try against Hull. What was it like being at Salford, obviously during the Martin Kukash era, and all that? How was it?
As a young kid, so I was only still 22, 23 at the time. It was kind of an eye opener. So I played with some really good players, some interesting characters would be the right word to call it. Your Rangy Chases, your Gareth Hawks. He put a star-studded team together, did Marwin Kukash, but there was obviously always something, a lot of drama in the camp. There was always a lot of big egos and a lot of, like I say, the word drama, probably the right word to sum it up, that something different every week. If it wasn't for players turning up or, falling out with the coach, it was a bit of an eye-opener as a young kid. And so like I say, good to be part of that team and, to be a starter in that, starting with some of them like Martin Gleeson, Francis Mellies, Kevin Locke, Michael Dobson. It was a great team to be a part of, but for whatever reason it just didn't quite work out on the field.
Obviously 2016 Salford were quite a good team that year, but obviously the administration and I think it was over the cap spending docked your points. You played in £1 million game against OKR. You also was announced as a Hull player next season. What was that like for you? Obviously, knowing you had to keep Salford up, but obviously you had a job elsewhere anyway. Yeah,
obviously an interesting one. Obviously that you've touched on it there. That we were a good team in that year at Salford, and unfortunately we had 6 points taken off us for previous season spending on the likes of your Gareth Chase, Rangy Chases, and Gareth Hawks and stuff like that. So unfair for that team to get docked them 6 points, because obviously it wasn't their fault, but we did enough to get into the playoffs that year. I think we were in the top 6 until them 6 points deducted. And then so to go into that £1 million game was obviously not nice, but I was obviously settled. I knew I'd signed for Hull back in the May, so then the £1 million game was in the October, so I'd had a good 5-6 months where I knew I was leaving Salford, but I still was in a situation where I was playing with my good teammates and good friends, and obviously my brother was there at the time. So I didn't want to see them kind of hard done by. But probably knowing my future was settled elsewhere, that it probably took the pressure off me a little bit and allowed me to play better in that £1 million game than some of the other players that probably obviously were having to deal with that external pressure of not knowing that they could be losing their job at the end of this game.
Obviously. There's an interview on Rugby where you said you turned down an hour offers. Melbourne Storm was the one I remember. Why was that? Just out of question.
There was to make that clear, it wasn't a genuine offer. It was some interest.
Right.
I was speaking to Melbourne. I was speaking to West Tigers and a couple of another team as well. And obviously, when I was at Salford, I was playing well. But it was just after my dad passed away as well.
Right.
So it was probably not the right time for me to move on. I didn't want to kind of go across the side of the world at that time. Obviously, just losing my dad and leaving my family. So no, that kind of never materialised. Looking back, like I say, it was something I maybe should have pushed on at the time. But I was after a big club, and obviously Salford Hull come in, and obviously it fit the bill for me that time.
Obviously, Cup winners the year before, and obviously won it that year you was there. Did that have any excitement to think that you could go to join a top 4 side at that time?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, like I just said then, when I sat down with my agent and my family, I was getting some interest from the likes of St Helens, Hull. I actually probably picked Hull over St Helens at that time. And I was after a big club. I was after a top 4 team, and at that moment in time, Hull was top of Super League. There was obviously in the semi-final, which they went on to win the final of the Challenge Cup. So obviously the big crowds, the big stadium, the big fan base, it was something that would really excited me. And obviously, give them the green light, and obviously signed on there.
So 2017 season, you got the number 4 shirt ahead of Yeoman's retirement. Did you ever feel like there was big shoes to fill, boots to fill, if you know what I mean? Because obviously Eamon was a club legend, and you're someone who has probably done a good job there. But how did you feel coming into the new season as a number 4?
Yeah, obviously massive boots to fill, especially playing a left centre and number 4. So, but me and Eamon completely different players, and I understood what he had done for the club and how important he was to the club. But I also come over with knowing what my strengths were and what I could bring to that position as well. So while there was pressure, and boots to fill, it was obviously an honour just to be in a chat with Kirk and to just carry his shirt on. Obviously,
you said about being a different player. You were obviously what Radford wanted at the time, because you played with Fanua and. You played on the side with Fanua, didn't you? Yeah.
No, I had Tully on my wing, yeah.
Oh, still another powerful winger. So obviously playing in that team with a big centre and wingers, how did that feel? Just playing with them players, and obviously
all great players in their own right. Tully's probably one of the best wingers I've played with. Up there, with Adam Swift. Great ball carrier, obviously did all the hard work for his team, great finisher, but also just a good bloke off the field as well, helped me settle into the area and kind of the new team, which is obviously a massive how when you come into it from another team to another team, settling is obviously a big selling point. But we had a real good team in that 2017, and we were unlucky to not to get to the GF, and obviously we won the Challenge Cup. Yeah, well, Challenge Cup, how is it feeling playing at Wembley? I don't think you've played there before that. Yeah, that's the only time I've managed to get there. How was that, just playing at Wembley and obviously winning there? Yeah, obviously amazing. Something obviously I'm real proud of, and the atmosphere and just getting there obviously gives you goosebumps, and it's something that's obviously going to live with me forever. But yeah, it was obviously wish I could have done it a few more times. Obviously the first time it's hard to really take it all in, because you're just like obviously nervous, excited. Yeah, so I wish I could say obviously it's good to live. I can live with it, and I can kind of remember the days and the bits about it and stuff like that. But no, obviously probably the biggest moment of my career. Obviously going on to we'll go to speak about 2017 semi-final. We had it at the grabs there, but obviously at the end Sutcliffe took it. Was there any, obviously you'd have been distraught, and not distraught, but yeah, was there any regrets about that season, would you say, or did you feel like you? No, obviously we won the Challenge Cup, and obviously the year before they kind of fell off the cliff, and they bit of cup fever, as though they almost called it. They didn't quite get it accomplished, so we put ourselves in a good position and got to obviously the semi-finals, the grand final, and unfortunately it just didn't go our way that night. That Liam Sutcliffe try, obviously I think it was Albert Kelly that slipped over or missed the tackle for him to go and score, which was obviously a bit heartbreaking at the time, because obviously I think we'd have played Cass in the final, and
that's a very winnable game.
Very winnable game, so we were unfortunate that year. And but that's rugby league, and you've got the moments you can't dwell on too much, I suppose. Obviously 2018 you went obviously Australia tour against Wigan. How was it just being in Australia with the lads? And 2018 was a great start to the year. Obviously, tour Australia was something I'd never done before, and it was an amazing experience. Going out there and seeing their culture, and just being in Australia and playing St George, and it was amazing. Like I say, I can't know any other clubs that have gone out there and done that. So it was a great experience. Obviously, 2018 was a bit of a sort of average season considering what we'd done before that. Would you say it was sort of Australia that kind of took out of you, or? I know there was a lot of injuries. We had a lot of injuries. Yeah, we had a lot of injuries. I was playing quite well that start of 2018 myself, and I picked up a really bad knee injury and struggled coming back from that. And there was a lot of other boys in the same kind of positions. I was at the 13-game losing streak that year as well. So obviously we fell into a bit of a hole that year, which was unfortunate. But again, like the next couple of years throughout the whole, we did struggle. We didn't have our fair share of injuries, and we struggled to get our best 17 on the field most weeks. And obviously in this sport, you need it.
Obviously, just 2019 was a bit of a similar year, but we probably started the year good again. Like it's typical, I see, really starting the year well and drawing off. But any memorable moments from 2019 for you? Like,
well, yeah, 2019 obviously was probably my best individual career season of my career. I managed to get the individual awards at the end of the year for the LFC, and that was probably when I was at the end of 2018 season. I'd been struggling with a really bad groin injury and hernias, and I didn't put my best foot forward that back end of the 2018 year. And that was only mainly because I shouldn't have been playing, really. I wasn't really training and just throwing myself on the field just to help the team out, really. In hindsight, I shouldn't have put my body through that because I wasn't ready to play. Got my hernia operation at the end of that 2018 season, and I hit the ground running. The 2019. Again, as a team, we didn't accomplish what we were out to do. Obviously, was at the. But individually, it was a great season for myself.
Obviously, you kept that going on to 2020 with famous Rovers celebration. But yeah, I think them 2 years you really hit form. How was obviously lockdown, going into lockdown? I think we played Wigan and then another game.
Yeah. So obviously that put a big. I was like I said, they were probably two best starts of my career. I've been named in the England squad and was looking to play in the World Cup, and obviously the lockdown come about and kind of put a stop to all that. But lockdown was obviously the same for everybody. It was a tough time, but what it did give me time to reflect on a couple of things, spend some time with my family, and I was with other people and get some other interests outside of rugby as well. I started a degree, and obviously. So obviously it's hard to talk about lockdown because everyone was in the same position. Obviously coming back from that to playing rugby again was hard. Obviously the rugby league was in the air with no fans and all the contact stuff, not being able to train with the boys, and you had to train in small groups, and that was a bit of a nightmare. And obviously then we ended up having to play 2 or 3 games a week, which was obviously hard itself.
Obviously we came back the 1 week, and then obviously the whole team got COVID. Again, did that impact it? Because they weren't a great start obviously, but did you feel like going back into training had helped? But obviously then
again, and it was what it was at the time. Obviously we trained that, we played the 1 week, and then everyone had to go in a 2 week lockdown isolation. So again, it put a damper on things. But look, obviously COVID was COVID, and it's hard to talk about something that is completely out of our control. We just have to play by the rules, really.
I forgot to mention about Radford leaving as well. Did you obviously know before Pearson announced that on Sky?
No, not at all. We were obviously in the changing rooms, and he came in and said that it was that was him done. Unfortunately, obviously I'm a big admirer of Radders. He was a great coach, still a great friend. Still play golf with him now and again, and someone I still stay in touch with. That was a big surprise, and that took some getting over. But again, we didn't have much time to. Obviously, Lasty took over, and we put it down the following week.
Obviously 2020 was probably a really good year considering, because we got to a semi-final. We got beat by Warrington I think 2 times in that space of that lockdown period. How was it to get one over them, obviously in the finals? Obviously we kind of managed to get into the playoffs through default that year. I think they made it an 8 playoff, and something happened. I can't remember what the structure we ended up getting in by default, and obviously to go to Warrington on their own patch and put in a performance and obviously knock them out was probably one of the better games I've been involved in. Obviously semi-final so close again, but obviously just towards the end Wigan took it. You got sent off at Simbin, didn't you, for tapping?
No, not Simbin. I wouldn't say it was a close game either. I think we lost 20-0. Our tactic wasn't great that night. I ended up getting a penalty conceded against himself, tapping on Ollie Partington on the head. I think I must be the only guy in the history of the sport to ever get a penalty for tapping someone on the head. So that was unfortunate, obviously. Like I say, I see it every week, and I still remember that. And I think that was Richard Kendall as well. It was Richard Kendall. What's his name?
Chris Kendall.
Chris Kendall, so I don't know his name. That's what bad I am. Chris Kendall as well. So tapped Partington on the head because he was known for it. And I remember him doing it to me earlier on in the season. So just give him a bit of a taste of his own medicine. And unfortunately, like I say, I think I'm the only person to ever get a penalty for tapping someone on the head.
Obviously, moving on to the 2021 season, Brett Altrin took over, and obviously Josh Reynolds came in. Was there any sort of, a new coach, obviously new style, sort of?
It took some adjusting to get there. Obviously, we're still in and out of COVID, which was not ideal. Pre-season started later, and again, we were still playing by the COVID rules, and so the season was played again, still behind closed doors. I don't know. The fans started coming toward the back end of the season, but it was still a bit of a turbulent time in rugby league, I suppose.
Obviously, that season was started quite well. Obviously, Swifty started playing more regular as well with your part left hand side. Was really good. The Achilles injuries was that year as well. How devastating was that for you? Because obviously you was getting called up to England. And playing in the World Cup.
Probably the lowest point in my career, I'd say. I had Sean Wayne at my house the week before. Telling me I'd going to be making my England debut the week after, and so I went into that game, full of confidence. I was, I'd been started the season well. I was feeling fit and strong, and I was obviously it was talent on the field, and I was in a really good headspace. So for that to come about, and the consequences of that, obviously the drop ball and whatever happened after that, it took some getting over mentally, obviously and physically.
Obviously, didn't come back till the 2022 season. Again, playing, I think you came back against Saints, did you? Or was it Wakefield?
I come back against Saints in the snow,
but just talk me through how the rehab went for you, or...
So obviously the rehab was tough. I didn't have an off-season that year, and naturally I'm quite obviously a big person. I've put on a bit of weight, so to come back, and I really pushed myself for that injury. I really wanted. I remember the doctor kind of saying it's a 6 to 9 month injury, and I was back training after 5.5. And looking back now, I probably wasn't ready. Physically, mentally, I was a bit all over the place still, and I wasn't enjoying my rugby league as much as I had been in that previous years. But physically, I wasn't ready, and that led to other injuries. Especially on my right leg. I had a pulled quad, a hammy, knee issues, and again, still just trying to play. One of my probably biggest downfalls in me is that I still try and play, but I shouldn't play really. I'm through injury and stuff, and just because I want to be on the field, but sometimes I can't give 100%, and that's probably something as I've got older I've had to kind of say, I'm not ready to play. But no, I wasn't ready, and that kind of 2022 season wasn't a great season for me personally.
So obviously moving on to 2023, you hit the ball running at second row. I think probably a really good move change for you, like position change for you, considering centre all the time, and you'd played there the odd time, hadn't you, like with Radford, but you'd really hit it well with Tony Smith, obviously. I think I don't know how many games he scored in a row, but how was that pre-season for you? Obviously the first pre-season since I'd been trying to play back row for a number of years. It was something that I was really keen on, just through either injuries or just my own form as a centre kind of kept me in that centre role. It's something I was putting. Obviously Manny Mao was playing left back row as well at the time. Obviously he was a massive player for FC and was a great player, so it was hard to get a crack there. But no, I remember the end of the 2022 season, I was mentally over the game. I had some discussions with my family about retirement and if I really wanted to do this anymore. Obviously I had a year left at Hull, but I kind of sat down and thought,
no, I'm going to give it a go. A new coach, kind of a bit of a kick. I remember sitting down with Tony Smith and in a coffee shop and just said, look, I don't want to play centre anymore, I want to be a back rower. And he said he was happy to give me a chance there. Obviously they were quite thin on the back row, and obviously signed Liam Sutcliffe and stuff like that. So he was keen to give me in there, and that's probably what gave me a bit of a kick at the backside, that I was able to kind of hit the ground running. And I needed a full pre-season. Again, that was something with my Achilles. I didn't get a full pre-season. So they're massive for any player, even older players, especially because it just helps get your body right for in the season. You know, obviously rugby league's a tough sport. So I had a really good pre-season, no injuries, managed to do every session. I really excelled in that. I built some really good combinations with Clifford and Sutcliffe, and that's, you know, obviously Swifty on that left edge, and it was something I was really, you know, passionate about, and it gave me a bit of, you know, like fire in my belly, because I knew I could do this job well. Obviously I needed to train there and get games there and a bit of fitness, and it probably took me a couple of games to really, you know, find my feet.
Obviously started the season well with the first 2 wins, and then went into that 7 losing streak. How did that affect, like, how what was said there when obviously
so I think Hollisley's got a tendency, they've always had a bit of a soft underbelly, and what I mean by that is that when it starts getting tough, we used to crumble a little bit, and that's not, I wouldn't say that's the team you've got now. I'd say that's a bit of accumulation of the last few seasons, you know, 19, 20, you know. We kind of, when it's got tough, we kind of waved the white flag a little bit, and, you know, obviously them 7-game losing streak wasn't ideal, but it taught us a lot about ourselves. And, you know, obviously we were low in confidence, and we needed some players back. And obviously Drake Truman made a massive difference, you know, partner Clifford in the halves, and we managed to get a couple of wins, and obviously got the season kick-started. But again, it's just a pressure club to play for, I'd say. So when you start losing, obviously, the snowball can kind of get bigger and bigger, and obviously that pressure becomes more and more.
But yeah, obviously went 7, and then we beat Huddersfield, and then I think Cass, and then not Cass. We beat then beat Wigan, and then Wakefield, I think. So obviously, how did that feel for you, getting back in that winning, and obviously?
Yeah, massively. But just winning, obviously, winning is massive in any sport. Takes the pressure off you, and it makes you a bit happier place to come into train and work in the morning. And, you know, we knew that we were a good team. It was just like, getting them wins, I suppose.
Obviously, you started your trying record. I mean, I don't know how many you scored in a row, but obviously the most probably memorable hat-trick of Magic was that hat-trick that you scored. I mean, the passion you can see as well when you're celebrating towards the fans. I mean, I love that personally, but, you know, how did it just feel to just, I mean, Texoy was playing well, Swift was playing well, Clifford, it just all clicked that game, and obviously you went 10-0 down, I think, or 12-0 down. I mean, just where did it change, do you think?
I think obviously that proved that how good a team we were. I think at the time Warrington was playing really well. You know, so the team they've got, you know, some massive players on a big stage, to go there and do a job on them like that. You know, it was probably the way the game went as well. You know, we weathered some serious pressure that first half. I remember we defended loads and barely had a sniff of their try line. So it was kind of the way we could defend and turn up for each other. Kind of probably built that second half performance.
Yeah, obviously. You know, moving on from that, you kept, I think, Lee, and then I think we're getting near the Saints game, aren't we? I mean, it's obviously going to come up. What obviously did you say to Kendall to finger red cards? Do you think?
So the whole Kendall situation, obviously, I've got one side of the story and he's got another side. I played that game on quite raw emotions, given the history from the last time we played him in the Challenge Cup, you know, where obviously the Achilles injuries and the drop ball and stuff. So I played that, and I didn't think we were getting a very fair rub of the green that day. I didn't think we were getting some of the calls, and obviously that's rugby league, and you've kind of got to live with them. And I was obviously playing with so much passion and so passion and stuff like that. And I just, like I say, but I remember the tackle with Hurrell. I remember I was holding onto the ball and Hurrell ripped back, and the ball, he gave me a knock. He gave me a penalty against it, and that obviously annoyed me a little bit. I shouldn't have carried on. Nothing come from the play. It was a dead play. It was like literally 10 seconds before the end of the first half. But again, it was just a bit of emotion over obviously the course of that half. Again, I didn't think we were getting a fair calls. And why my side of things is that I don't think he generally heard what I said, and I still don't believe he heard what I said. Like I've obviously said, I've kind of challenged the call and said that it wasn't a. I remember saying it wasn't a ball steal. You can't give that call, and then I went, "That's a shit." So I can swear.
Yeah.
I said that's a shit call, and that's when he gave me the yellow card. Caught saying it was a shit call, which again I felt quite harsh done by. I then turned around and walked away and kind of said, "You can't speak to the effing." Oh, I can swear. I said fucking prick, and I turned around and walked away. Again, I shouldn't have said it.
Yeah.
It was obviously, you can't swear at referees, but it wasn't aimed at him. I just kind of was saying that you can't talk to the fucking prick. I can't do my own kind of like that's.
Whisper in your breath.
Yeah, not whispering in my breath. I said it. Obviously, I've never hid from the fact what I said, because I know exactly word for word what I said.
Yeah.
So for obviously to get the red card was obviously a massive shock from that, because I didn't think I deserved what come about. But for then to go to the tribunal and hear what he said, what he thought I said, was obviously makes me question. Do I think? Well, I don't think he's lying. He might have heard what he thought I heard, but I know word for word what I said.
What did he think you said?
He said I called him effing shit. He was fucking shit, and that he was a fucking cheat. Whereas not one of them words never come out of my mouth. So I generally don't think he heard what I said, and like I say, that was my argument in the court case. You had a referee stood 2-3 feet away from him, kind of saying that he had to kind of say that he didn't hear anything. The ref's mic was the really weird one for me, because that kind of it picks up that I called it was a shit call.
Yeah.
But then it kind of goes dead. So I don't why the mic's not picked up the rest of the conversation. I don't know if the mic's not picked it up, and then the next part of it is he's said I called him fucking cheat, which is I didn't say them words at all. And like I say, I'm not calling him a liar, and I just generally don't think he heard what I said, or he misinterpreted what I said. Probably the better word for it. Well, again, it's obviously it went down to the evidence was that it was his word against mine. The tribunal the men in the tribunal kind of said, why would a referee lie? Again, I had no reason to lie. I admitted to what I said, and I actually thought I'd get a couple of games for what I said, because I thought that was a bit worse. But to get and then in the tribunal, I kind of thought I got okay, I'm going to get a ban here. I thought I might get 2 or 3 games and a fine, but no, to get £7 and £1,000 fine was obviously a massive shock to me.
Obviously, that then led to you leaving Hull. How come that came about? Was it?
So obviously a big. How to word this? So obviously had to deal with the 7-game ban, and so I'm not sure really. I don't know what happened. In terms of my end, I turned up training with a smile on my face. I sat down with Tony and stuff. He didn't want me kicking stones and stuff around the place, and I didn't. I made sure I turned up training. I made sure I rocked on all my fitness, and for 1 week it was all right. And then it kind of started. The atmosphere started changing, and I got a phone call from my agent one morning saying that they want rid of me. And from my understanding, it was all completely Tony's decision. For what reason, I don't know. but there was nothing from my end that wanted to leave. There was nothing from my end that give a reason, apart from obviously the red card. There was no bad, what's the word, bad, like, bad negativity or energy from my end. I kind of turned up training and made sure I did everything right by the boys, and at the end of the day it was Tony's decision, and he's saying they're trying to change the culture and stuff like that, and I've heard his kind of interviews and coming out that they're about a contract and stuff. I think that's part of it as well. I think obviously I was on a decent salary at Hull, and they probably didn't want to pay me for the rest of the, pay my wage for the rest of this, that year. And there wasn't, when it comes to contract talk, I think there was a bit of pressure there for them to kind of, offer me a contract, and given me age, I don't think they wanted to do that. And obviously the money that I was looking for, they probably didn't want to commit to that either. So it's probably a way out for them as well.
I feel like you probably earned a contract, to be fair, considering how well you played. But obviously, you'd been.
Obviously, I was playing well. I wanted to stay at FC. It was a club that sort of grown to love, and my family, I live in the area. My little boy's a massive FC fan, so it was a shock that the way it come about, I felt quite disrespected in terms of the way it was handled and the way I was treated. I kind of been quite quiet about it recently, and never really let it kind of speak about it. But like I say, I wasn't given the chance to come and say goodbye to the players. I kind of got out, basically just said I didn't need to turn up training one morning, and then that was on the Friday, and by Monday I'd left FC.
Obviously, there was high talk of the rumour that you'd be joining Castleford or Wakefield. Why Wakefield? I have heard that they offered you more money than Cas did, but obviously...
No, I had a few offers. I won't name clubs, but I had a few offers. Right. About 5 or 6, to be fair. But location was a big one. I didn't want to be travelling down the M62 towards Lancashire. I live in Hull, I'm staying in Hull, and my little boy's in school here and stuff like that, so there was no reason for me to travel. I didn't want to spend 2.5 hours on the motorway every day. Obviously, and then so the location was a big one, but Wakefield again, it's a club really close to my heart as well. I grew up a Wakefield fan, and I remember first team debut there, I remember academy debut, everything. So in terms of Wakefield's, it was the obvious choice for me. I spoke to Cass and stuff like that, but no, Wakefield was the obvious choice for me to go back there, and try and help them avoid relegation.
Obviously, first game, referee was Kendall. Any hard feelings about that, or you just get on with it? And
no, obviously there's always going to be a bit of feelings in that situation, and there's going to be, I'm not going to say me and him ever going to be friends or anything, but no, I just got on with it. I made a beeline to, if I play well, then I can kind of, say a little campaign well, and I managed to score 2 tries, or 3 tries I scored. I don't know, one of them got chalked.
Yeah, because it was obstruction. It was really daft.
So I managed to score nearly an hat-trick, but so that was my little win for that day, I suppose. I know the result didn't go our way, but
obviously, it's a really heated relegation battle at the minute. Played Saints yesterday. Yeah. Obviously, disappointing result, but do you feel like there's anything to take from that positively?
Yeah, we actually played really well in terms of against the champions. We played well. We kind of gifted them for probably 3 or 4 tries that they didn't deserve, and that's probably happening with Salford as well. Our completion rate as a team at the moment is probably hindering us a little bit, and not allowing us to really execute them, with the big plays when we need them. We obviously the points difference now has been squashed a little bit, so there's not much in it. We just need to kind of get a good win. Hopefully it'll be this Friday.
Obviously, if Wakefield do go down, what does that mean for you?
I'm signed there for next year, and that was so that was something that I knew when I signed. I'm probably looking for another year to play anyway. I kind of probably call it. I'm 34 next year, so I'll probably call it a day next. So we'll see. I said never say never, but I'm happy. Like I say, I'm happy to go. If they do go down, I'll be going down with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, you've got a fitness program now. Is that what you're looking to do when you do retire?
No, not necessarily. It's more a bit of a side hustle at the moment. It's something that obviously I'm passionate about my fitness and my nutrition and stuff, and obviously been off to university and done a degree, and I've always been, that's probably my better side. I've enjoyed playing rugby, but I've also enjoyed the training and all the stuff that comes with it more. But no, that's just my little side hustle, and keeps my brain working, kind of keeps me active, and just I can help some people obviously lose some weight or gain some, so it's a really good business for me, and if it takes off, then it takes off, but at the moment I'm quite happy just keeping it quite mellow and just kind of cruising along with it.
Obviously, so if you do retire, when what would you go into, or
thinking S&C, strength and conditioning, that's what I went to university for. Other than that, it might be one of the services, the fire service or a policeman. I kind of like that kind of active role, and something around there. I'm going to be staying in Hull, so it'd be on the
that's it. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Like I say, been nice to have a chat, and like I say, Hull's obviously a big club. I've got a lot of respect for Hull and the club itself, and I've always got some fond memories there. It's a shame the way it ended. It's a shame the way it ended, but like I say, I'll be down to, my little boy's a massive FC fan. It's obviously a club close to our heart, and so obviously we'll obviously be a black and white for the family now.
Thank you.
Spot on, mate.